She thought I grew up when I stopped being jealous, but forgot about the divorce papers I signed. My girlfriend returned from a month-long business trip with her old flame, only to find that I had changed. She helped her old flame steal my project, but instead of quitting in anger, I busied myself helping him write proposals. For the sake of her old flame's year-end bonus, she ruined the design I had worked so hard on. But rather than trying to prove myself, I took all the blame and accepted her punishment. Even when she wanted to promote her old flame to general manager, breaking company rules, I didn't get angry. Instead, I voluntarily gave up all my shares for my girlfriend to distribute freely. My girlfriend was puzzled by my sudden obedience. Her old flame was smug. See? I told you the cold treatment would work. Make him lose you once, and he'll become docile. My girlfriend had a moment of realization and smiled, saying I was being good and that she would promote me. She even unexpectedly suggested I propose to her, but she seemed to have forgotten that during our Cold War, she had already signed my resignation letter, and I had already broken up with her. From now on, we would have a clean break, with no more entanglements. This project proposal is urgent. Have it done before you leave work, Fiona said coldly, dropping a thick stack of documents on my desk before turning to leave. As soon as she disappeared around the corner, my colleagues gathered around, chattering away. Isn't this Zach's project? His projects are the hardest, with lots of requirements and difficult research. Forget finishing by tonight. It might not even be done by tomorrow evening. The boss is really biased towards him. He doesn't do his own projects but pawns them off to others. They clustered around me, speaking without restraint. I knew full well they weren't really speaking up for me, just stirring up drama. Everyone knew that CEO Fiona was my girlfriend, yet she heavily favored my rival Zach. Back then, she not only broke protocol to promote Zach to project manager, but she even handed him the $1 million project. I had spent a month securing and over a month of sleepless nights nearly completing. When I protested, Fiona put it to a public vote to decide the project's ownership. Those colleagues who pretended to speak up for me unanimously voted for Zach when it came time to cast ballots. Afterwards, they explained to me that they were pressured by Fiona's intimidation and asked me to look after the new colleague. This kind of thing happened many times after that. My colleagues were still sympathizing with me, but this time I didn't storm off to Fiona's office to confront her like before. Instead, I calmly accepted the project brief. Seeing this, my colleagues' eyes widened. They were about to say something more when Fiona came down from upstairs. They immediately fell silent and hurried back to their desks. Fiona seemed to be in a good mood and ignored their little movements. She reminded me to leave the completed proposal on her desk. Seeing me nod, she turned on her heel and left without looking back. She had put on elaborate makeup and was wearing a skirt that barely reached her knees. It didn't take much imagination to know she was off to meet Zach. This had been happening frequently over the years. It all started when I discovered Fiona and Zach's goodnight messages to each other. When I confronted her about it, Fiona thought I was being petty and angrily brought Zach into the company, breaking protocol. To punish me for my suspicions, she deliberately favored Zach, taking him to various social events, and even feeding him and wiping his mouth in front of everyone at company dinners. When I got angry, she gave me the silent treatment. When I apologized, she would use it as an opportunity to team up with colleagues, to lecture and criticize me. Everyone said I wasn't being a big enough man. I often reflected on this, wondering if I wasn't open-minded enough, which led to our current situation. But later, when I accidentally discovered that Zach was her first love, I finally understood. She was just using the excuse of desensitizing me to my pettiness as a cover to openly maintain her connection with her old flame. Even without the incident of me seeing their chat history, Fiona would have found other excuses to be with Zach after they returned from their recent business trip together. Although they still frequently met for meals, drinks, and sports like before, I could sense that their relationship had become more subtle. But fortunately, I no longer cared. Our 5-year relationship had come to an end. This farce needed to end too. After finishing the proposal, I was the only one left in the office. I opened my phone to find that Zach had posted several updates on Snapchat. The background was a fancy restaurant, with a romantic candlelit dinner on the table in front of them. Fiona was elegantly cutting Zach's steak for him. Caption: steak cut by the lady boss herself must taste extra delicious. In the comments, several colleagues were praising how sweet they looked together. Zach jokingly boasted further that Fiona, who usually doesn't drink, had half a bottle of red wine to help him celebrate the project's success. The comments section became increasingly lively with various speculations. Fiona didn't explain, only saying, "It's what I should do." Some clueless person asked when they could drink to their wedding. Fiona replied with 3 dots, while Zach sent a naughty emoji. I didn't get angry and call Fiona like I used to, only to be scolded by her for their ambiguous relationship. Instead, I sent her a message saying I had finished the proposal, then left the file in her office before driving home. When I got home, I saw that Fiona had replied to my message. "Lucas, this is Zach. Thanks for your hard work on the project. I'll treat you to a meal sometime." Fiona always kept her phone close and would get angry if I so much as checked the time on it, accusing me of invading her privacy. Now she had handed it to Zach, letting him read our chats and reply to my messages. I let out a scornful laugh. Different status in her heart indeed led to different treatment. However, I felt strangely calm at this moment. Things that used to feel earth-shattering now seemed trivial. Feelings always change. Only hard work never betrays you. I pulled up my calendar and checked the date. Not long ago, when Fiona and Zach went on a business trip that was really just a vacation, I took the opportunity to submit my resignation. As expected, when Fiona was with Zach, all her attention was on him. She approved it without even looking. Now, I just had to wait 3 more days for the handover to be completed, and I could leave for good. After some thought, I called my former advisor at the research institute abroad. I had joined the institute as an outstanding graduate, enjoying preferential treatment, but when Fiona said she needed people to start her company, I quit without hesitation. Despite my advisor's repeated attempts to dissuade me, I resolutely returned to China to help her build the company from scratch. Looking back now, I realize how foolish I was. When the call connected, I explained my intention. I thought I'd be scolded, but to my surprise, my advisor sighed and told me he had known about my situation for a while and had been planning to invite me back. But this time, have you really thought it through? He asked. I nodded. Yes, I've thought it through. I've already taken care of the resignation process. Resignation? What resignation? A startled cry came from behind me. I turned around to see Fiona pushing open the door. Looking down, I saw that my advisor had already hung up. I naturally turned off my phone. A friend who's planning to quit his job, I said. Fiona frowned, suspicion rising in her mind. What kind of friend talks about work stuff with you this late? As I was pondering how to explain, her phone suddenly pinged with a message from Zach, saying he had encountered a stray kitten on his way home and had specially gone to buy a sausage for it. A smile involuntarily lifted the corners of Fiona's lips. Seeming to realize I was still there, Fiona suppressed her smile and said perfunctorily, "Don't chat about negative things with your friends. Use that time to learn more about the project instead." Her cold tone was completely different from how she spoke to Zach. I didn't argue or complain that the project had already been given to Zach. Fiona didn't pay me any more attention either, smiling as she replied to the message while heading to her room. Soon after, her hearty laughter could be heard from the room. She had completely forgotten how I had been by her side all these years, working tirelessly day and night, cutting off all contact with my friends. But it was just as well, saving me the trouble of arguing with her. I returned to the small study converted from a storage room and took out the English materials. I hadn't finished reading. After 5 years, the direction of the research institute had changed. If I wanted to go back, even with my advisor's help, I needed to have strong skills myself. Fortunately, my foundation was solid, so it wouldn't take too long to pick things up again. You're reading English magazines? Just as I was engrossed in my studies, Fiona suddenly entered the room. She reached over and took the magazine, flipped through a couple of pages, then tossed it back. With a sneer, she said, "Why are you reading this? Can you even understand it?" "Just browsing," I replied coldly. I put away the materials and asked, "Did you need something?" In the past, whenever Fiona came to me on her own initiative, I was always very enthusiastic. Perhaps not expecting me to be so cold, she was taken aback for a moment. Her expression became somewhat unnatural. "There is something," she said. "Zach just completed a big project, and I'm planning to promote him. It's also a good way to encourage other employees. What do you think?" Fiona looked at me. She asked for my opinion, but I knew this was just a notification, not a real consultation. I still nodded. "I have no objections, but there need to be penalties as well as rewards. Otherwise, the team will be hard to manage," she continued. "You haven't completed a project in such a long time, so I'm thinking of temporarily transferring you to an entry-level position. I'll bring you back later when the time is right. Don't worry, it won't be for too long. I'm thinking of the overall situation here. You're my boyfriend, so you should support me, right?" I laughed inwardly. So even now, she didn't know about my resignation. She could deduce Zach's mood from the slightest hints and know what he liked from small details. But now, as her boyfriend, my resignation letter had been signed by her own hand, and she was completely unaware. Indeed, care and indifference can be seen in just a few words. Seeing that I didn't speak, Fiona thought I was going to argue with her like before. Her expression immediately darkened. "It doesn't matter if you don't agree. I've already sent out the notice, and your office has been given to Zach. Either you accept the transfer or you leave," she threatened. "But let me advise you. The company is about to go public. You should think carefully before you walk away." Her tone was confident that I wouldn't leave. This kind of thing had happened too many times. In just 1 year, because of a few words from Zach, my position in the company had been lowered again and again. If I could endure it then, Fiona was sure I would be even less willing to leave now. I smiled bitterly. I didn't say I disagreed. "All right then, that's settled," Fiona said, her mood lightening. I didn't say I disagreed, so that meant I agreed. Just as she was about to leave, she seemed to notice something and came back. "I remember you used to have our photo on your desk. Where is it now?" I finally realized what she meant. Actually, not just on the desk, but on the walls of my room and in my wallet. There were photos of us everywhere. I had been constantly reminding myself that no matter what Fiona did to me, she still loved me. But when I learned about Zach and Fiona's relationship, I realized how ridiculous I had been. These photos, each one of them, were mocking how much of a clown I was. I didn't want to explain much, so I said flatly, "The frame broke accidentally, so I put it away. Why are you so clumsy with everything?" Fiona frowned in disgust, immediately looking down to check if there was any broken glass on the floor. "Make sure you clean up properly when you have time. Don't let anyone get hurt." With that, she stood up and walked out of the study. Watching her back, I couldn't help but laugh self-mockingly. Of course, she wasn't concerned about me. Her words clearly meant she didn't want Zach to get hurt. This was our home. But she had brought Zach here many times. At first, she came secretly. Later, when I questioned her about the strange occurrences, she immediately produced evidence that it was just for work. She then took the opportunity to rebuke me for being jealous and petty, and subsequently began bringing Zach home openly out of spite. As time went on, I fell into self-doubt. Every day I reflected on whether I was wrong. Now that I think about it, if I had used that time to focus on anything else, I could have been successful. The next morning, Fiona announced the good news of Zach's promotion, as well as my demotion to the lowest level. My colleagues didn't know I had already resigned. While they congratulated Zach, their eyes were full of sympathy when they looked at me, secretly speculating whether I would throw a tantrum again. To their disappointment, I remained calm, as if nothing had happened. Over the next few days, while Fiona was hosting a celebration party for Zach, I was applying for a visa. When they were relaxing at an amusement park, I was clearing out my things. In the end, the stuff I wanted to take with me didn't even fill one suitcase. When they were entertaining clients at a club and being urged to drink from the same glass, I was handing over all my work. 2 days later, on my last day at the company, I completed the final procedures at HR. "Go to the CEO's office before you leave. The boss is looking for you." the HR person said without looking up. I was about to refuse, but then I thought, I'm leaving tonight. If Fiona goes out with Zach as usual and doesn't come home, this might be our last meeting. After all, we've been together for 5 years. There should be some kind of farewell ritual, right? Thinking of this, I went upstairs to the CEO's office. Just as I was about to push open the door, I saw through the glass wall that Fiona was sitting on the sofa, wearing a short skirt, while Zach was lying down with his head on her lap. They looked very intimate. I hesitated. I was considering whether I should step back when Zach spotted me first. He cried out in surprise and hurriedly sat up. Brother Lucas, why are you here? Fiona's face also showed a hint of nervousness. She hastily pulled down her slightly disheveled skirt, then angrily said to me, Lucas, who allowed you to come up? Didn't I say before that without my permission? You're not allowed to come upstairs and disturb me? Fiona had mentioned this rule before, but the original wording was that except for Lucas, no one was allowed to come upstairs and disturb her without permission. Before, I thought Fiona was giving me special treatment, but now I understand what she really meant. However, I'm used to it now. Not wanting to dwell on it, I said flatly, HR said you were looking for me. Fiona snorted coldly, strode to her desk, and angrily pressed the intercom. Less than 2 minutes later, the HR person came upstairs. Did you tell Lucas I was looking for him? Fiona asked coldly. Sensing the tense atmosphere, the HR person looked at Fiona's icy face, then at Zach, and became so nervous they couldn't speak. After a while, they finally said, I don't remember. Hearing this, Fiona seemed like a victorious general, coldly glancing at me and speaking sarcastically. Interesting, isn't it, Lucas? I thought you had really learned your lesson, but I didn't expect you to still be so scheming. Since you're so worried about me, why don't you move upstairs and keep an eye on me all the time? Or maybe put a camera on me to satisfy your curiosity? I was speechless. Fiona, don't be angry. I believe Brother Lucas is just concerned and didn't mean any harm. Zach gently rubbed Fiona's back, then looked at me and said, Brother Lucas, don't misunderstand. I was just tired earlier, my head was hurting, and the boss wanted to help me feel better so I could continue working. Everything we do is for the company. Don't overthink it. I looked at his smug expression, as if he wanted me to overthink. Even though I didn't know the whole story, I was sure this was Zach's mischief. The HR person was shrewd, knowing Zach was Fiona's favorite. So when they sensed the atmosphere was off, they didn't dare to tell the truth. But even if they had, Fiona probably wouldn't have believed it. I remained silent, but Fiona was still fuming. She angrily said, no need to explain to him. Personal matters are personal. Company matters are company matters. Since we're at the company now, let's follow company rules. Lucas didn't follow company regulations. So all of this month's bonus will be deducted, and his salary will be cut in half. The HR person hurriedly said, Boss, Lucas has already... They probably wanted to mention my resignation, but before they could finish, Fiona glared at them. I don't want to hear any of his excuses. Do as I say! The HR person didn't dare say anything more, and turned to go downstairs. I thought for a moment and prepared to leave too, but Fiona suddenly called me back. Perhaps because she had vented her anger, she now looked calmer. She spoke earnestly. Lucas, I'm not deliberately targeting you, but this is the rule I set. If I don't punish you, it might be hard to convince others in the future. Zach nodded in agreement. That's right, Brother Lucas. Next time when you're unsure about something, you should ask the boss first. If not, you can always ask me too. Hearing him say this, Fiona nodded approvingly. Zach cares about the company. He knows more about company affairs than anyone else. Then she glared at me again. Unlike you, what can you do besides being jealous? Can't you learn from Zach? Learn what? Learn how to deliberately interfere in other people's relationships, or learn how to deliberately steal other people's achievements and set them up. I sneered, but couldn't be bothered to expose them anymore. Seeing that I didn't speak, Fiona thought I had realized my mistake. She took a couple of steps towards me, straightened my collar that wasn't even messy, and said earnestly, I know why you're doing all this, and I'm really disappointed in you. But I have to say, since coming back this time, you've indeed become more sensible. To reward you, we'll go take wedding photos tomorrow and put the wedding on the agenda. But don't get too excited, marriage is just... Marriage? Before she could finish, I let out a light laugh. I brushed off her hand. I handed her the resignation letter I had prepared, but we've already broken up. Also, I've resigned. From now on, we have no relationship whatsoever. Zach's eyes lit up for a moment. The corners of his mouth curled into a triumphant smile. Although he quickly returned to normal, I saw it very clearly. Brother Lucas, what you're saying is a bit too much. After all, you and Fiona... Enough, Zach. You go out first, Fiona interrupted before he could finish. Zach's remaining words got stuck in his throat. He pretended to persuade Fiona not to get angry and to talk things over properly before reluctantly going downstairs. After he left, Fiona glared at me coldly. Lucas, are you getting too full of yourself? I've already agreed to marry you. What more do you want? Take back what you said about breaking up, and I won't sign your resignation letter. Tear it up now and I'll pretend I never saw it. Seeing Fiona's confident expression, I found it both amusing and pitiful. I knew that she had become like this partly because of my previous indulgence. In the past, this kind of thing happened many times, but every time Fiona gave me a way out, I would obediently take it, continuing our facade of a loving relationship. I wanted to use this peaceful method to maintain our previous feelings, but I forgot that being constantly without temper would only make her more and more presumptuous. She cared about Zach's every move, but ignored everything about me. Even now, she didn't know she had already signed my resignation letter. I laughed lightly and held the resignation letter in front of her eyes. But you've already signed it. I've completed all the procedures and handovers. I can leave today. Fiona, who had been nonchalant before, changed her expression when she saw her signature on the resignation letter. Lucas, did you forge my signature? I was amused by her words. You signed it yourself. Impossible. How come I don't remember signing this? Lucas, do you know that forging a signature is against the law? If I want to pursue this, I can call the police. She took out her phone, pretending to dial. This was her trump card. In the past, whether it was because of Zach or other reasons, every time there was a big row at the company, she would threaten me with calling the police. She thought I was afraid of the police, but she didn't know that back then. When the company was small and people were disloyal, I was afraid that calling the police would make everyone lose faith in the company's credibility. Moreover, I loved her then and didn't want to have an irreparable fallout, so I thought taking a step back would open up a whole new world. But now I was about to leave. We had also broken up. So what did I have to be afraid of? Go ahead, call the police then. Seeing that my expression remained calm and that I wasn't begging for reconciliation, as she had imagined, Fiona's hand that was about to dial stopped. You're really not afraid? What is there to be afraid of? Hearing me say this, Fiona moved her lips and couldn't help but carefully examine her name on the resignation letter again. I kindly reminded her, you approved this resignation when you were on your business trip. Fiona's shoulders stiffened, as if she finally remembered, and her face suddenly turned pale. Her thin lips quivered, and after a long while, she squeezed out a sentence. Is this why you're insisting on resigning? Let me tell you, I was busy at that time. I didn't notice the signature, it doesn't count. I was amused. Why not? I followed the proper procedures. Every step was correct. Why doesn't it count? Because I say so. She tried to muddle through like before. This time, I wasn't rendered speechless by her anger. Instead, I took out my phone. Then you can say that to the police. I didn't plan to make a scene with her, but I was prepared to confront her if she tried to make trouble. Seeing that I had really dialed the police number, Fiona was shocked. She quickly snatched my phone and hung up. Lucas, have you gone mad? I'm not mad. I just want to ask if the law recognizes what you say. Perhaps because she had never seen me push back so hard before, Fiona visibly panicked. She bit her lip lightly. All right, Lucas, stop this nonsense. I know you mind about Zach, so from tomorrow on, I won't meet him alone anymore. Is that okay? And about our wedding ceremony, I'll book it right now. She took out her phone. I've been looking at this wedding design company for a long time. After coming back from this business trip, I wanted to discuss the wedding with you. Look. She held her phone in front of me, showing me her chat history with the customer service. I glanced at it. Indeed, it was her discussing the wedding with the customer service. But there was one line where she asked the customer service if they had blue wedding dresses and suits. I remembered that blue was Zach's favorite color, and I had told Fiona before that this was the color I disliked the most. So who was this wedding really prepared for? I didn't need to think to guess the answer. I sneered and said calmly, all right, I have a flight tonight. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving now. I've left the house keys in the mailbox. Don't contact me in the future if there's nothing important, and try not to contact me even if there is. After saying this, without waiting for her response, I headed straight for the door. Just as I opened the office door, Zach, who had been eavesdropping outside, stumbled in. I'm sorry, Fiona. I was worried you two might argue because of me. He acted flustered, his expression aggrieved. Brother Lucas, I just heard you want to leave because of me. Please don't do this. Fiona loves you very much. She can't live without you. I'll apologize to you. I'll leave the company today, okay? As he spoke, he made a show of taking a blank A4 paper from Fiona's desk and was about to sign a resignation letter. Looking at his exaggerated performance, I found it amusing, but Fiona couldn't see through it. She anxiously snatched the paper and pen from Zach's hand and righteously said, this has nothing to do with you. You're innocent. If anyone should leave, it shouldn't be you. But what about the company if Brother Lucas leaves? Zach asked. I don't believe the company can't run without Lucas, Fiona said coldly, glaring at me. Perhaps stimulated by Zach's offer to leave, she now showed no intention of trying to keep me. Lucas, think it through. The company can run without you, but if you leave the company, you might not find a boss who treats you as well as I do. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. Before she could finish, I had already strode out of the office. Fiona's exasperated voice came from behind. Lucas, don't regret this. Of course I wouldn't regret it. That evening, I took my luggage to the airport and boarded a flight abroad. On the night of my arrival, my advisor had already arranged everything for the research institute. The next day, I smoothly entered the institute to continue my former dream. Back then, Fiona said she liked robots, so I chose this major at the beginning of university and later, devoted myself to research. Later, as time passed, her interests changed again and again, but I became more and more engrossed in my daily research. Over these years, even though I had been working at Fiona's company, doing work unrelated to robotics, I still kept up with developments in the field during my spare time. Therefore, when I resumed my research, I didn't find it too challenging. During this time, Fiona sent me a few more messages, essentially saying she still didn't believe I would really leave her, and offering me a few more chances to back down. I didn't reply. Fiona then sent me a few photos. It was Zach's transfer notice. I figured it out now. Your resignation wasn't approved by me. It was Zach who made a mistake in processing it. But he didn't know the applicant was you. I've transferred him to logistics now. He'll never touch company affairs again. Isn't that enough to satisfy your anger? Soon after, Zach also sent me an apologetic text message. It was long and seemingly sincere, but I could still tell it was an acrostic poem. If you looked carefully, you could see the hidden message mocking me. Clearly, Fiona had asked him to write it. She sent it without even reading it. In the past, if I did anything slightly questionable, Fiona would think I was alluding to Zach. Now Zach was openly insulting me, and Fiona turned a blind eye. I sneered, unsurprised, and couldn't be bothered to waste any more of my precious time on them. I simply deleted them from my contacts. I thought this matter was over. But unexpectedly, late one night, Fiona suddenly video called me. In the frame, she no longer had her previous vigor. Her face showed signs of weariness. Even her voice was full of fatigue. Lucas, stop this nonsense, okay? It's been so long already. Let's make up, all right? Hearing her near-pleading tone, I felt a bit uncomfortable, but I also found it amusing. Even now, did she still think I was just throwing a tantrum? I didn't stop you, not because I don't care about you, but because I knew you went on a trip, and I wanted to let you calm down properly. Lucas, we've been together for 5 years now. Can you really bear to end it like this? Before I could speak, her tone softened. Let's not talk about the unpleasant things. Come back tomorrow. I actually have a surprise for you. It's something you've been yearning for all these years. I was going to wait until you came back. but I'm a bit impatient now. Let me give you a preview. As she spoke, Fiona moved the camera. It revealed a large arrangement of tulips in the room. She smiled and held up a ring box, waving it in front of the camera. You've always complained that I won't marry you, right? This time when you come back, I'll propose to you. The flowers are white tulips, your favorite. The ring is a custom DR. Only one can be made for each person. I've even called reporters, planning to put the proposal video online. I know it's rare for a woman to propose to a man, but this is all to coax you, right? You should be able to feel my sincerity now. Fiona chattered on. I looked at the large patch of blooming tulips behind her. This time she hadn't gotten it wrong. Tulips were indeed my favorite flower, but white tulips symbolize pure, unblemished love. Seeing these flowers now, I only felt irony. I'm not planning to come back, I said calmly to her. Not coming back? Fiona was stunned for a moment, then sighed. I knew it, you're still angry. All right then, I'll come find you. We'll have the proposal ceremony abroad. Lucas, I really give in to you. You should know, this is the first time I've ever compromised for a man. You should be secretly happy. My patience with Zach isn't even a tenth of what I have for you. As Fiona was about to continue her enthusiastic speech, I interrupted. You've misunderstood. I took out my documents from beside me and held them up to the camera. I've emigrated. I'm never coming back. When I hung up the phone, Fiona on the other end seemed not to have reacted yet. She stood there in a daze, the ring box falling from her hand with a thud. But I knew she would react, and she would adjust quickly. She should have anticipated this day long ago, when she repeatedly mistreated me to protect Zach. This time, Fiona's matter didn't affect me anymore. I put this phone call behind me and threw myself wholeheartedly into my research. Perhaps realizing that I was determined to break up, Fiona no longer tried to win me back. She began to travel and show affection with Zach openly, broadcasting their sweet moments on social media. We were like two parallel storylines in a TV drama. While they were celebrating winning a project over a candlelit dinner, I was testing software programs in the lab. As they were shopping and checking in at trendy restaurants, I was wrestling with a stubborn bug. When they were entertaining clients, getting drunk, and announcing their relationship on social media to everyone's congratulations, I had a sudden inspiration and found a new approach to my problem. A month later, our hard work paid off. We finally overcame the challenge of autonomous, bipedal robots maintaining balance in dynamic environments. A problem that had plagued the field for years. Although the high cost remains a major hurdle, technological progress is always slow but profound. No one knows what the future holds, but everyone was overjoyed at today's success, celebrating enthusiastically. That evening, my advisor was in high spirits and specially booked a 5-star hotel to celebrate this breakthrough. After several rounds of drinks, his face flushed red as he held my hand, lamenting repeatedly. He regretted that I had left so hastily before. If I had joined them earlier, this difficulty might have been overcome 2 years ago. He pulled me over, declaring in front of my juniors and seniors that I was his most outstanding student. I felt a bit embarrassed. At the same time, I did indeed feel regret for myself. Those 5 years should have been my prime time to shine. But instead, it all came to nothing. But it's not too late now. After the gathering ended, we all went home. However, when I reached the yard of my rented house, I saw a familiar figure. I thought I was hallucinating from drinking too much, so I rubbed my eyes. But Fiona saw me first, and quickly walked towards me with unsteady steps. As she got closer, I smelled the strong scent of alcohol on her. It seemed she had drunk a lot. I frowned slightly, watching as she stopped about a meter away from me. You seem to have gained some weight, she said. How strange. She never used to pay attention to me before. In the light from the street lamp, I saw that her eyes were slightly red. I smiled. No worries. Good food and good sleep naturally lead to some weight gain. I used to be quite thin, standing at 6 feet but weighing just over 130 pounds. Having to take care of Fiona every day and brooding over her favoritism towards other men, I couldn't eat well. Over time, I developed mild anorexia. It wasn't until I came abroad and recovered over a long period that I returned to a normal weight. Why have you come here again? I asked calmly, looking at her as if she were a stranger. Fiona seemed to sense this too. She bit her lip and said, Lucas, Zach, and I have broken up. I've thought it over. I'm willing to give up everything and come abroad with you. I know you're still angry with me, but I realize my mistakes now. I'll find a way to deal with the company back home. Then forget everything. We can start over. I looked at her determined eyes and found it amusing. Is it really you finding a way to deal with it? Or is the company about to declare bankruptcy and liquidation? Although I no longer paid attention to Fiona's affairs, former colleagues who I had added as friends would still chat with me from time to time. Fiona and Zach had to beg partners everywhere for help. Later, the partners got tired of their pleas and finally agreed to give them one more chance, requiring them to redo the project. It was also around the time Fiona video called me, but I only found out about this later. I'm not sure if she was sincerely apologizing to me then, or if she just wanted to use our reconciliation to exploit me once more. But it doesn't matter anymore. Later, Zach volunteered again, wanting to redeem himself. Fiona gave him this chance once more. But who knew that after the project ended, a serious accident occurred? The personal data of over 1 million users was leaked. Fiona not only had to compensate the partners for their losses, but also the users. The total compensation amounted to at least tens of millions. This meant that her years of hard work were about to be destroyed. Fiona seemed not to have expected that I would hear this news. She stared at me in a daze, her lips trembling, and large tears rolled down her pale cheeks. I'm sorry, Lucas, I was wrong. I should have listened to you back then. Don't push me away anymore. Let me stay by your side. We can start over, okay? As she spoke, Fiona fell to her knees in front of me with a thud. In the past, I would have been unable to bear this, and would have tried everything to help her. But now, my heart was as calm as if I were an outsider. Seeming to guess that this would be my reaction, Fiona didn't retreat. She rolled up her sleeve, and suddenly, ghastly scars on her smooth arm became particularly eye-catching. I recognized that these scars formed my name, Lucas. Lucas, I admit I wronged you, but after you left I suffered too. Every night, when I saw the empty room, I couldn't help but think of you. Every time I thought of you, I would write your name on my arm. I was with Zach just to provoke you, to make you come back. The person I've always loved is you. I never thought about breaking up with you, and I never imagined you would really not come back. I regret it now. I really regret it." Fiona wept bitterly, clinging tightly to my legs as if afraid I would suddenly leave. "You can scold me or hit me. I deserve it all, and I'm willing to take it. But please don't leave me again, okay?" I was about to push her away, but on second thought I changed my mind. "All right, but you have to agree to one condition for me." "What condition?" Fiona's eyes lit up, as if she had grasped a lifeline. I took out my phone, dialed the police number, and handed it to her. "I have evidence of Zach's misappropriation of company funds and his economic crimes within the company. Call the police now and let him face the consequences he deserves." Hearing this, Fiona was stunned. "After we get back together, the company will be our joint property. There's nothing to hesitate about in protecting our legitimate rights and interests." I pushed the phone into her hand. Fiona hesitated to press the call button. "Lucas, Zach is still young. He may not have contributed much to the company, but he has put in effort." "What about me?" I sneered, looking at her. "Are all the grievances and losses I suffered before just going to be forgotten? Moreover, he's free out there now. How can I be sure you have no entanglements with him? But if you send him to jail, I'll be with you without any worries," I whispered in her ear, like a devil's whisper. Fiona looked at me with wide eyes. These words seemed to give her courage. She took a deep breath and pressed the call button. "Hello?" However, as soon as the call connected, before the operator could finish speaking, Fiona suddenly hung up forcefully and threw the phone aside. "No, Lucas. I can agree to anything, but not this. This concerns his entire life. If he really goes to prison, his whole life will be ruined." I smiled. I had already guessed her choice. I walked over slowly, bent down to pick up the phone. "Do you see now? Even now, your heart is still occupied by two people. It's too crowded. Fiona, your love is neither pure nor clean. Since you're willing to choose him, then don't come back anymore. It's better for both of us." Fiona wanted to say something more, but at that moment a call came through. After hearing it, her eyes widened. She said, "I'm sorry," and turned to leave. Watching her back, I felt a strange sensation. It seemed to be an unprecedented sense of relief, as if something had been completely stripped away from my chest. It wasn't until I received a message the next day that I finally understood the reason for this feeling. Early the next morning, I received a message from a former colleague. He told me that Fiona had been in a very serious car accident, nearly dying. Fortunately, she was sent to the hospital in time by a passerby and saved. What I didn't expect was that after Fiona woke up, she stared blankly for a while, and when she came to her senses, the first thing she did was to take Zach to court. It wasn't until later that I learned the urgent call Fiona received when she left in a hurry. That day was from Zach asking for help. But when Fiona arrived, Zach revealed his true colors, attempting to kill her and disguise it as an accidental car crash to claim her large insurance payout. Luckily, a passerby happened to come by and saved Fiona's life. I believe this time she finally saw Zach's true face. In court, Fiona acted completely out of character. She ruthlessly presented ample evidence, showing no mercy in sending Zach to death row. Zach wept bitterly several times, but this time she didn't soften. Afterwards, she wrote a will, transferring all her assets to my name, and then jumped from the 30th floor. At that time, our research had another breakthrough. I pondered for 2 seconds, then donated her assets to the research institute in her name. Death settles all accounts. All that follows is emptiness.